Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon. One of those. Oh, hope you're doing well. Somebody's trying to kill each other outside, which is very noisy and annoying, but we're just going to ignore those. I don't know why there was a glitch, but there was, so there we are. All of the gossip aside, I finally got a translated version of Himmler's second, or his aide in command, Werner Grothmann, an interview he did. And that was not really what I was planning to do today, but I'm reading some stuff that he said that is really interesting. I'm going to give you a section. He said, with regards to Kamler and Hitler, he said Kamler was one of Hitler's last hopes. And this was evident because of his appointment as the special plenipotentiary for the production of radiation weapons, which was done on January 31st, 45. And he was also the head up for the jet fighter production. And Grothmann says, since Kamler was only personal subordinate to Hitler for these tasks, even Himmler could hardly give him any orders anymore. Grothmann then said, accurately reflects Kamler's increase in power in the Reich and Himmler's uncertainty. Himmler wavered between his loyalty to Hitler and the attempt to save himself. He was unsure of how to interpret the behavior of Kamler and Speer. Whether Hitler did speak to Kamler about the new bomb, get back to that in a minute, as Grothmann suspected he did, but it is unclear because he wasn't there. Kamler's adjutant, Heinz Schumann, he reported that in a four-eyed conversation between Hitler and Kamler on February 21st on 1945, Hitler has said that the war is lost if Kamler's information was correct. So my question now is, what did Kamler specifically tell him on the 21st that he did not know? I think that is very interesting. And there's a couple more things. There's actually a lot of this. I'm going to have to do a specific episode just on this. But it's very apparent who, from what Grothmann is saying, and about who worked with who and on what programs and what bombs, and it's all very, very interesting. But since we're here to talk about questions, I'm not going to go over this too much. But what Grothmann said after the war is really interesting, and I'm going to have to dissect it all and make sure I'm doing this and linking it to other statements and what other people have said. So I'm actually doing some documenting this, and with references to the backup of other people. There's references of Himmler having gone to Prague on the 23rd, I think, of March 1945, which I thought was very interesting, but that is backed up by Goebbels' diary, and Goebbels' diary was written at the time of the war. So, yeah, there's some interesting stuff to go over there. Back to last Nazi secret that I know everybody would rather have me doing than all these boring old World War I forts that are super cool. I know you guys gonna get it. Damn it. What do you mean, where am I? Am I not here? Huh. Well, then why is Dawn asking where I am? I mean, sometimes these are questions I ask myself after enough walking. But anyway, yeah, but World War I stuff is just as cool as World War II. Damn it. Yes, we are Prussian heritage. I know. I am. You're alive. I am alive. Yes, good. All right, fine. We're all here. And I'm trying something new, which I don't know. It is an espresso tea. A black espresso tea. So if I fall asleep, we'll know it doesn't work. I mean, right. I'm in front of a white wall in the window. Yes. Um, Hiding in my secret LA bunker. But anyway, what are we doing? Oh, well, so I put it up to a vote for you. With I have 2 episodes that I was working on having nicely laid up and lined up on the timeline, and then you all voted for something else, a third option. So I had to come up with a third option. Yeah, but if I turn on the backlight here, then that's what it looks like. So yeah, we're kind of stuck with it. I would prefer sitting in complete darkness myself as well, with hiding all the old age stuff. But so I went through to Himmler and Hitler's headquarters in Ukraine because I wanted to see all of them that actually exist. So I went there and I did a. So I had to figure. Well, I had to give you something else, and well, we're going. That's where we're going in some 45 minutes. We're going to Hitler's and Himmler's headquarters. Yeah, no, me after dark. That's the that's the 800 number. Oh, anyway. Oh, there's no William. There's I put the vote up on the. I put a up on YouTube. There gets a vote up. Sometimes I'll throw up if I have three. La Palma. Yes, La Palma tunnels are on my list, and I can't believe last time I was there, I didn't go. I was with my mom, and it was many years ago. But yes, I will be going to. I will be going to the Canary Islands to look at the tunnels out there. I hope they haven't been destroyed in the volcanoes that happened a couple of years ago. And Cowboy, you're very welcome. And there's a lot more. It's funny. There's so much of history that doesn't make sense. Usually, what rings the bell is the level of how hard somebody comes down on a story. That gives me an idea that if the system is coming down very hard on a story, well, then there might be something to it. Anyway, yes, Portugal. There's a lot of. No, I don't. Spain. Yes, there's some interesting places in Spain. There's some cemeteries across the French frontier. There's the train station in the Alps over France and Spain. That's really interesting. But also in Spain, there's some interesting cemeteries where German soldiers and SS men are buried that are that where they sort of hit the stones. And then there's a couple of old sites of radio stations in Spain. What is interesting in Spain is the Spanish Civil War sites because they are so hell bent out there. Spanish has gone very socialist lately, and there's one thing that always bothered me about the Spanish Civil War is how they all preach all the volunteer brigades that went to fight against Franco. Well, they went to fight for the communists with support of Stalin. They went to fight for communism, and I really don't see how they are whitewashing that, considering how the Spanish communists would kill priests and nuns and civilians, and the horrible thing, the prisoners and mayors, anybody who was on their side, just be murdered and tortured. And also, when we get to the bombing of, all right, come on, buddy. What's the name of the city that was bombed by the Germans in Spain? There's that little town that they all said, "Oh, damn it, come on!" I'm completely blanking out on that. The German Air Force bombed it. Guernica. Thank you, Andres. I knew somebody would know. And when I dove into that, and I have a friend here in Hollywood, he made a movie about it. Oh, terrible, killed everybody. The city was burning, blah, blah, blah. Well, there's a problem with that. Is that, yeah, the city was bombed. And by the bomb, because there was weapons factories in the city where they were manufacturing weapons rifles for the communists. But there was not a whole lot of damage done. the damage was done after either, but and I don't remember the story exactly. I have to dive into it, but it wasn't black and white. The city was primarily destroyed afterwards, after the attack, either in subsequent fires or explosions from secondaries from the weapons factories, munition plants that blew up, or deliberately in order to kill civilians. But it's not a black and white thing at all, and it doesn't square up from what I'm hearing on the ground. It does not square up um, with the official story, with the official narrative, which is not new at all. And I really want to do something on the Spanish Civil War because we're completely missing the point of what Franco was doing. He wasn't this mad dictator they're making him out to be. Yeah, he killed all the communists he could get his hands on. I don't really see that's a problem. But anyway, he did. But he didn't seek power. He didn't. He wasn't the guy that military coup and tried to take over and run the country. The guy that was appointed as the leader of that side of the nationalists, well, he was murdered or died or was killed in fighting, and Franco was the charismatic leader of troops. His troops adored him, and he was generally a good guy, according, of course, on their side. And he was. They asked him, "Do you need to lead us, and defeat the communists and save our country?" Which he then did. Whereafter he very skillfully kept Spain out of World War II. He paid off, during which he received goods for free by the Allies, specifically for not joining Hitler. And Hitler traded outright gold with him for raw materials. He still had the Blue Battalion, went to the Eastern Front. But generally, Franco navigated Spain out of World War II, refilled all of the Spanish bank's coffers. He then came out of the war with 365 tons of gold, paid off all its debts, got everything from everybody, and rebuilt the country after the Civil War, rebuilt the economy, built the hospitals and schools and everything back up. And then he gave the country back to the government and the king. That doesn't sound very dictatorial. And I really think Franco is being, and you go to Spain and you'll find all these little leftist Spanish tour guides who talk about all the horribles that the nationalists did and all the, because they're preaching the glory of communism again. Michael, hang on for a second on that. Not entirely sure what Speer he got, because he went to jail for 20 years, which, depending on who you ask, was not justified or very justified or not enough. But anyway, Speer turned sides. They needed him. They needed somebody to change sides, and at Nuremberg. And Speer, he did. He saved his neck. I mean, honor is great. Surviving is sometimes also great. So he came out with he survived, but 20 years in prison is still a long time. But he came and went, and he was let out, unlike Hess, who they locked up forever. And I think Kamler got a deal. I think Speer maybe did a plea deal, like, yeah, I'll testify against other people and tell everybody how horrible we were, and my head stays on my neck. I think that's the deal Speer he got, if he got a deal. He also wrote a very interesting 800-page memoir, which I have people they love to quote from. The problem of that is, yeah, exactly, he became a millionaire. But you have to remember, 40% of all the proceeds of that book went to the state of Israel, by the way. So I'm sure they didn't hate him too much for all the money he made them. And again, he wrote a post-war memoir, and memoirs are, yeah. Well, Franco hung around the world long after World War II, but he eventually handed the country back to the government and the king. Memoirs are sometimes very self-aggrandizing, self-serving. I think a lot of memoirs are very self-serving, and I think that's one of the things you can say about Speer. I don't have any. He's never been one of my interesting people that I really wanted to dive into, because he lived so long. He told his story. He was on all the TV networks, and he wrote his book. And it's hard to argue with, well, now a dead person who had that much time to tell people his side. But it's very easy to tell your side of events when everybody else you talk about in the room are dead. Um, so, but still, if he had done a deal, he'd probably gotten less time in prison. So I think we'll go with a plea deal on Speer. As usual, every week I file another email to Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna and to open up the files on Kamler and the CIA, which of course no one responds. Senator Comer as well, who set up the committee, of course, get no response as well, but I'm going to keep trying. I'm bucking for a meeting or a phone call. See, that'll help. I sent the same thing to the White House tons of times. Oddly enough, no one has busy responding. So if you have nothing better to do, please write them, all of you. Write Senator Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna from Florida, and insist that she have a talk and have a meeting with me. If you're in the same district as Senator Comer, write the same thing to him. Hell, write the White House. If they get enough emails, enough mails, that we'll have them sit down and talk to me, and so I can present what it is we're looking for of documentation that's been missing. Maybe we'll get it. The more people that write, the better. That's all I can say on that. Yeah, the second and third tiers of the researchers, for the most part, well, the third ones didn't really. The second one tier, they went to the Russians for the most part. That's why the Russians were able to build what they were able to build. But don't forget that Manfred von Ardenne, who was in charge of the Postal Service nuclear project, which Goldman also talks about, he went to the Russians. And so they had a very definite leg up on all the Postal Service nuclear research. They had that. They got that from them. Even if if they had just a few of the top ones who was in charge, and they got a who built the testing facilities, well, then they had pretty much what they needed. There was also a talk, which was referred to and also in Hitler's the memoirs of his the table talk. But again, the table talk, the original version, had been sanitized quite a bit as well. Where it's referred to, where there was a debate if the new weapon, the compression weapon, as they referred to it, should be used on the Western Front. And if that was a conversation Hitler had, which is actually very interesting, because Goldman knew about this conversation, but that took place before the end. We're looking at after, of course, the invasion of Normandy, already 1944. So at one point, Hitler was in the loop to the point that there was a new weapon, and they were talking about using it on the Western Front. So if everybody at that point, of this circle, knew that Hitler, to the point where there was a daily conversation, should we use the new weapon or not? Well, there must have been a new weapon that was capable of significant damage and must be working if they were talking about using it. So if that was already a ongoing conversation, then what weapon is Goldman referring to when he says, I don't know if Kamler spoke to him about the new weapon? That must have been newer than the one they were talking about the nuclear device or the compression bomb. Yeah, the coal dust. But I read the book about citing that's imminent use before the weapon, the wheels, the vehicles were destroyed, and how talking about in Russia. I'm very curious about that. I'm very curious about that unit, and I'm very curious about how little other information that is on that other than that book. But I know they were working on it. I know they tried it. It, from all intents and purposes, the Russians complained about them having used it. I don't know when it was ever a thing for one side to complain about the other to the point where we're going to gas you if you don't stop using X, Y, or C, and for that to actually be adhered to. Again, more questions. Please, if the Russians wouldn't mind opening up their archives, it would be ever so lovely. I don't think we can expect any favors. But again, these are things that somewhere in our archives we know. We damn well should know. Why do I look like I'm out of focus? Am I out of focus? It's Sunday morning and my coffee's not working. I left all my food at home before going to the office. I forgot everything in the house, so I don't even have an espresso. Anyway, so we're just winging it. I mean, I would say for everybody, wouldn't it be better we talk about the screw ups in the past than we're talking about the screw ups in the very present? I think that would be a lovely distraction from some to talk about past wrongdoings as opposed to the ones that some people are doing right now. We do live in very interesting times, especially if you're British. If you're British, it may be time to start protesting before they get your virtual ID in. That is very, very, very concerning. Yeah, I mean, they took we know someone in American intelligence knows this. Yeah, post Putin. I mean, post Putin would be wonderful with more access. Depends who's in charge. If everything crumbles, I guess we go to the archives with a fistful of dollars and see what happens. If he goes, I have no idea how to judge that situation. I would very much like to visit, but I'd also very much if I loaded some of the images. We got the video from their AA fire in Kiev from when they just got hit while I was there as well. So wanted to show you, but I didn't actually load it onto this computer. So I got to show you when we have a chat when I'm at home with my other computer. Show you how AA tracers still are fired like in the good old days. But now, if they could actually stop fighting in Palestine for a minute, and that could sort of begin to resolve itself to 5-10 decade of peace, then maybe we can start focusing on getting the Ukraine war ended one way or another. But he handed back active control to the government. He reinstalled the government and the king, which the communists had gotten rid of. I'm sure there's different phrases on that. I will dive into Franco, and I will dive into who did what and why. I was always just saying that there's something wrong with his portrayal, especially in the today socialist Spain. But yeah, no, like there's all these amazing World War One Panzer forts and all this amazing World War One battle story that I'm desperately trying to get you into. Besides, we have to get through the Prussian and Austro-Hungarian forts before we get to the Nazis. We got to get from one to the other, and I'm just saying the World War One is really interesting, especially the Eastern Front. Like I said, it's very hard for me to go through a town like Premish that I love, that I really, really love, and to try to show you. So I'm trying to make you fall in love with the same things I'm falling in love with, because it's just such an amazing place. I'm just reading your comments. I'm trying to want the Kamler info report of stress to stress the Cold War. Yes. I am. Yeah, I heard Canadians get almost all the history from current news. Yeah, you're so screwed. Especially now, I heard they're starting to confiscate guns again in Canada. Oh, you're big trouble. Yeah. Oh, in Britain, you guys are in deep shit right now. Canada, I don't even know. Tesla Tech Star Force. Darcy, you may have to send me some information on that one in a bit more detail. That's a statement that hangs. Poor Hitler again. It's very interesting when you talk about the wonderful leftists today, of the nice purple-haired ones, and half the things they believe they want to do is what Hitler believed and wanted to do. He's a lot closer to the left than people always calling people on the right for, you right-wingers, you're Nazis. When most of what Hitler did, National Socialism, hello, it has socialism in it. Thank you. But yeah, no, I do have a couple of Star Forts coming out. At least two more Star Forts. I haven't shown you three, although it's more of a Bastion fort, I think. So they've got the stuff coming up, but there's some of the World War One stuff that is just amazing, and it does lead very much into World War Two. And I guess the way wars fought today is sort of going backwards to World War One. So we have to study all of history, especially the Prussian wars, because they're just cool and because they have Prussian heritage. So there. Did the Soviet perform so badly in 1941 because they had no defensive lines set up and purely were there for attack? Yes. Yes, pretty much. They had even their fortress troops for the Stalin line were sitting right on the frontier with Germany. They were in their staging areas and they got overrun by the German army because they jumped off first. That is, if it had been the other way around and the Russians had jumped off even on a well preparing or staging German army, it would have been the same result the other way around. The one side who attacks an army in its build-up phase, in its assembly areas while still assembling, they are going to have the upper hand. Strikers don't do anything without taking orders. Jihadists just do whatever. Yeah, yes, but Stalin did kill a lot of officers, but depending on who you're listening to or what research you're following, the ones he killed off are the ones who wanted to build forts and bunkers and had a defensive mindset. And also, like Yusuf, the one who did all the killing, he was convenient because you kill off the guy that killed all the people, and on your orders, you kind of delete that part and say, well, no, I didn't know you did all these horrible things. So he had him executed. So some people believe Stalin didn't know and he was a good guy. A lot of people that were being starved and killed by the communists were writing to Stalin, telling him what was happening because they didn't think he knew. And it's very interesting. Yes, Lend-Lease saved Russia. And it's very interesting because you look at why Putin went to Ukraine in 2020. Same thing. Bad intel. He was told this is how things are. And today, people are writing Putin, oh, this is so bad, we don't have water. And don't you think he knows? That might be part of the Russian command system that he don't know. Yes, at that point, the Germans, when they got to outside Moscow, they were also extremely stretched. And I'm going to talk about thorium. Oh, we're not done about thorium, yes. The lines of the German logistics. You keep hearing that Hitler went to Russia, but he wasn't ready. And they keep modifying the plan because, well, they said they had logistics for only 6 weeks or however much it was. I said, yes, but we have to do it now. We have to win sooner. So they modified the plan to everything happened earlier. Yeah, I believe it was. And why would Hitler keep modifying the plan to jump off earlier? When his army said, well, the logistics are we're not ready yet. We're not prepared yet. If it wasn't because the Germans had intel that Stalin is going to jump off in July, you only have 1 or 2 more weeks to go before he goes. And all of a sudden, all the history, every mainstream history book and documentary, why did Hitler do it? He wasn't ready. It was stupid. This shows that they didn't know what they were doing. They were unprepared. They had all these logistical problems in early. I mean, it wasn't 3-4 weeks in before they were running low on fuel after Barbarossa jumped off. They weren't prepared. But if you put it up, all these things that you've heard mainstream historians whine about and pointing fingers at, and then you hold that up against, yeah, but Stalin was going to jump off in July, a few weeks later. Then you say, well, if he doesn't have a choice, he doesn't have a choice. You don't jump off of the army you want. You jump off of the army you got when the time is there. And that is that it solves all the questions we had about why on earth did he do something that stupid. If you hold that up against, we didn't have a choice because Stalin was coming. Then everything makes sense. Then everything that went wrong on the Eastern Front makes sense. Because no, they weren't ready, they weren't prepared, but well, you got what you got. So, and yeah, you can go a lot of things. Like World War One could have been prevented on an ungodly amount of ways, and so could probably World War Two. Brilliant book. I'm still trying to get Victor on an interview somehow, and I wrote. There's a couple of other books that are very, very good that built on Victor Surov's research. And unfortunately, one of them is written by a very snooty writer who could not be bothered to actually come on and do an interview, at least not yet. That's just too bad. We have laws in place and charges who don't enforce them. Well, what are you going to do when they start enforcing them? Then riots start. Yeah, hindsight is 2020, but I think a lot of them knew. But sometimes you just got to go. You get mugged in a street fight. Somebody jumps you. Well, you take your swing and you kind of hope you land enough to stop the attack, right? But yeah. I mean, communication was sometimes to a point of getting a dude in an airplane to fly there, to be met with a dude on a motorcycle to take the ladder there, hoping everything gets there. Just look at the amount of trouble at the Battle of France the French had for not wanting to use direct communication. The Russians, to a large degree, will do the same thing. And now we have instant communication, which is funny because yesterday, it was I think the day before, I was talking to a friend of mine in the Ukrainian military, and he said the Russians are redeploying all their forces from here to here. They're pulling everything out of here to go to that area over here where they're going to make an attack. And we're watching it real time. And I'm like, well, you're watching them move. Like, well, I guess we're gonna have to take care of them while they're moving. Well, yeah. Now, real time is scary, but real time is also annoying if you can now see what your enemy is doing, but you don't have assets in place to do something about it. Now you're just watching your enemy being vulnerable, moving around, was frustrating as crap. But we're all learning these days. Surov make a lot of sense, and especially because now more mainstream historians are starting to build on his research because more has been coming out. And I met with Ukrainian historians who did research in the Russian archives, which also backs up what they say. Polish historians who also back up what they're saying. People who are looking at, like I do, fortifications on the ground, are looking at this, say, well, the Stalin line, the Molotov line, it looked very much like this was this really an actual defensive line, or was this just a way to tell Hitler, hey, look, we're not going any further. We're building up here. We're going to sit right here. Which is something a lot of people have coming around to that realization. Can you do some of the tunneling, or am I on the wrong battlefield? What tunneling do you want me to do? Find me a tunnel and I'll crawl through the damn thing. Yeah, I'm kind of go with Hitler being dead as well. I mean, if your dog is dead, who really wants to live? Anyway, I think we could have saved the dog somewhere. Anyway, what about her schnauzer? Well, I don't know what happened to her dog. Maybe her sister got him. Yeah, anyway. So yeah, it's an interesting point of research that is slowly waking up, and I'm going to be doing some more on the Stalin line further back in Ukraine, and some of the underground tunnel systems, command headquarters that they did was just freaking amazing. Some of the stuff was amazing I saw. And the really cool part is the Germans took pictures and documented all of them. So we know exactly what the Germans found, and that also gives an idea of what the Russians were planning on doing. Um, is Alice Cooper still alive? I think he is, isn't he? The north end of the Stalin line. Well, I could get as far as to Belarus, although people are trying to convince me that I can visit historians in Belarus and should be okay with it. Um, I'm thinking about that next year. I'm thinking about it, but I will be playing extremely open cards to the Belarusians as who I am and why I'm there and what I'm doing, because I really don't want to snoop around in an outright communist country with a camera. So we shall see. We shall see. I can write their embassy and we'll see if they'll be nice. Uh, I love Riga. I love the Baltic countries. I've been there a lot of times. I always, Robbie, I don't have to, because I don't have time. I don't have time to have a metal detector follow me around because, I go and try to see a couple of places every day and document them so I can bring them to you guys. And thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Um, I thank you, Sid. Um, I would love to do metal. I figure metal detecting is going back to places I've been to that I would like to metal detect. Because I can't, I get all the camera stuff with me. I have to get there, I have to find, I have to film and do the history. And metal detecting takes a long time. I would be, it takes a long time because you have to go, you have to stop, you have to dig, you have to go. And I don't have the luxury of having the time. Now, if I didn't have to have a day job to go back to, um, then if I was out there for months on end and I could afford to stay, then definitely that would absolutely be. But I figured that's the kind of thing I'll do when I retire. I'm not planning that ever happening. But so I'll start digging through paperwork instead and let that be the treasure. There's after all quite a lot of people. And what if I find something? Then I have to find a place to put it. And I haven't gotten the museum. I'm thinking that I want to see if I can. I've been trying to get a little fortress, like a little Prussian fort, that I can take over and turn into a museum. And now that I've been seeing museums all over the world, I'm trying to figure out what would be the best way of doing it. If you get a historical location, I would want to keep it historical, clean, and accurate. Would I want to rebuild? Let's say I took over one of the small forts in Przemysl, where they blew up the Caponier. Fine, fair. Would I rebuild the Caponier? Hang on, that's another question. Would I rebuild the Caponier? It doesn't exist anymore. Would I or wouldn't I? I would love to, but would that then be wrong because it destroys that historical part? Would I be interested in taking us to the engine room when you are out filming in Europe? Everything from planning, appointments, locations. How I do things? Oh God, you'd be bored of your ass. I usually just use a pair of dice and here's a map and all right, what's around here? Well, that place looks interesting. Let's go take a look at that. Uh, but yeah, I'll talk you through the process at some point. Usually involves like alcohol and a Ouija board. Um, if Russia will release any files on Kamler would be nice. Well, you have to think about the Russians are keeping things classified until it suits them not to. That is very much something that's under the old guard. So question is, does it suit them? When does it suit them? Do they see this as a political thing? Does the leaders today even know that they have something that may not mean anything to anybody except us? A lot of questions, a lot of guesswork. Um, I don't know. it's very hard to gauge what the Russians are thinking and why they're keeping the things secret that they are or not. If we're lucky in a hopeful scenario, somewhere Trump gets to be instrumental in stopping the war somewhere, everybody's happy and holding hands, and I will use that euphoria to contact the Kremlin White House and petition this. Maybe I'll find a friend who's working in or related to the White House to support that. That is a wishful thinking fantasy that um, maybe that's what that is the hopeful scenario. Um, yeah, that's another thing. All the underground stuff is, well, some of it's in use, and especially now that drones are flying around above the ground. Um, yeah, I just need to sleep more, Tom. Uh, when it comes to Magda's channel, I will furnish her with a very funny. Uh, I will furnish her with a camera and a laptop, and sort of hope she'll get some good stuff, but can lead a horse to water. Uh, if I was in jail, they wouldn't have metal coffee mugs. Um, I did my initial military service in the Queen's Royal Life Regiment in Denmark. I did 11 years in the PO 6431A Military Police Reserve Unit. I transferred to the International Brigade under the Princess Life Regiment after the Queen's Life Regiment was disbanded after she died. My Sorry, my screen did weird things. I was assigned to the International Brigade, where I did 6 months with the NSC Sherbrick, for the most part in the barracks, in the old German barracks in Denmark. And now I am under the 40th ID out here in LaSalle, where I am the PAO of the 26th Mounted, basically. And as such, I belong to the museum unit under the 40th ID Museum. So nothing fancy and interesting. We'll never do anything to it. Well, fine. No, I was. If I go through the front door in the embassy and to introduction to the archives and all these nice things, I'm not going to show up with a fistful of money. Problem is, if I go to the archives and I try to hand over money to the archivist, and he actually gives me something, am I then liable to get stopped at the border and searched and done for stealing secret documents and all that shit? Yeah, I'm not gonna fuck around with the Russians. I'd rather fly above board on these things. If somebody comes to me here and say, I have something that they gave me, okay, but I'm not going to go try to be sneaky in Russia as an American with an American military ID, because I'm sure that would just be catnip for anybody. I wrote a book or two or three. I'm fourth book, actually. Top 10 best broadcast recordings. Well, I know you have noticed I'm starting to put up shorts to generate a little bit of interest with the new generation. And it's interesting what I have found, new generation, thereby I mean the young ones. The ones with the attention span does not stretch past 30 seconds. As you saw, that's why there's coming all these short forms, cutouts of episodes. And the interesting thing about that is it is bringing a lot of short clips of stuff I've said to people who haven't seen the long form episodes. Hopefully they'll watch them and now commenting, oh, well, I haven't heard this and I didn't know that, so I could. Hopefully it's generating more interest. Have I been doing a broadcast at Christmas? Hang on, what am I trying to keep up here? Machine 100 here. Excited to make the top 10. I would top 10. Maybe. Again, it's sadly all about navigating time about my day job. Copy that. Copy about my day job. I mean, the Russians will be interested. I'm sure they're curious to look it up. They may not share it. We can give them some donuts for it. Nobody wants to take donut bribes. And it's like I work full-time job and I'm doing this on the side and trying to, like, this week, it was for the grace of God I could finish today's episode. Just got it approved by YouTube yesterday. Because, of course, you wanted something other than what I wanted to do. By the way, democracy is canceled on Lost Battlefields. There will be no more questions, no more voting. Now we do it my way, damn it. The shorts is a fun way to. It's fun to do, and I found a program that will cut out the most interesting bits and turn them into shorts and upload them straight away. So it takes no more time out of my day. And I hope you will appreciate in the episode that's coming up that there are very few remains left of, especially of Himmler's bunker, still there, fully intact, no problem. Hitler's, not so much. There's really not really anything left. There's very little left. So I had to enhance some of the photos and do some graphics and try to make some graphics. I made my own graphics, and by the way, I made the music as well. So I hoped just to try to come across what Hitler's headquarters was, how it worked. Yeah, it's coming. They're all coming eventually. Thank you. I will take care of it. I'll raise the boy. I'll take care of your nephew. I'll try to be good. But so I tried to make graphics of this episode so you can still go with me through the complex, and hopefully you'll get an idea of what Hitler's headquarters was. And outstanding. And well, thank you. So it was all of them. Outstanding. Good. I'll try to make more of them. And by the way, you can also make shorts and upload of my channel. Apparently, that's allowed. Prune donuts. I mean, first of all, and God bless America. I love my country. Don't get me wrong. They don't make good pastries here. They just. I grew up in Denmark. Made phenomenal pastries. Lived in England when I was a kid. Terrible pastries. Don't even remember British pastries. You can make anyway. That was the cheap ass make sure the other dude know what he's doing and the other dude knows what he's doing. Can't afford expensive radio things here. We work for crappy donuts, don't you know? We literally do. But anyway, I hope you'll appreciate the episode that's coming now, because it's very hard to make an episode when there's very little. So I had to make what was there with the pictures we had. I don't know Earl yet. She is still finishing off her last year in university, so she's a bit busy. I will tell you all asked. She's a little bit like a puppy, easily distracted. But actually, she did write me something interesting yesterday, talking to an old historian out in Prague. I call him skeptical. She wrote, nope, that's naked pictures, somebody else, there you go. Now I will see Kamler's folder, the official death report from the communists. And my response to that was, I withhold my opinion until I've seen every page and had them dated and verified. I am not optimistic. I know there's some people out there that have been showing her. There's a guy out there that's been claiming that he knows where Kamler's buried, but he won't tell. Like, okay, that means nothing to me. There's people that'll take me to every Nazi dignitary's grave or tell me whether they know where they are, but won't take me there. Yeah. Okay. Great. So we shall see. We shall see. Like I said, deep breath. He's been for years telling her and her friends that I know. Oh, I like the Göteborg. Last time I was there was for the Mr. Olympia competition a billion years ago. And we can have a talk about Swedish donuts, since I know Sweden makes donuts as well. But yeah, no, I know the guy they've been talking about. He knew where Kamler is buried, but he won't tell. Well, tell me. No, somebody been threatened. What was watching him or something. I'm like, great. Tell me. I'll go. I'll take a look. And so far, no coordinate. I said, I will go. I will bring Kamler's family. I will bring his son. We'll come take us there. Like, yeah, okay, then fine. You're talking. There's an enormous amount of gossip, and you try to listen to what everybody says, but it ends with a lot of talk and absolutely zero verification. And I think that's one of the things we really need to focus on is there's a lot of talk and very little verification for a lot of things. And that is, sometimes it gets a little thick. So I don't want somebody to get their hopes up until let's see what they come up with. Let's see what they come up with. And I'll tell you all, I'll tell her that you guys asked. Anyway, we're about time for the episode coming up in a couple of minutes. I feel I rushed the edit because it was so much I had to do to find it, to put together, to make it interesting. And again, I was working all week trying to get it together while working. Let me put it this way. There may down the line be a time where I will redo that episode after I've been back again with more footage and some more stories of the area and the events that took place there. But for now, this is where we are. This is what we got. So yeah, thank you, Jim. Thank you, everybody. Switch the channel to the new episode, and I will see you all next week. We will do it all again, and I will work on Kortmann's interview and statements again. Well, see you in the chat in 30 seconds. Toodles. This coffee espresso is not